If you've ever been told you're so calm, but inside you felt like a storm, this might explain something. There are people who rarely raise their voice. They don't react dramatically. They don't make scenes. In stressful moments, they look composed, almost unshaken. But what most people don't see is how much they're actually feeling. They notice everything: the tone shift in someone's voice, the slight pause before a reply, the energy in a room changing by just a few degrees. And while others move on quickly, they carry it with them. It doesn't look intense from the outside, but internally, it's loud. People who seem calm but feel everything deeply often learned early on that emotional expression wasn't always safe. Maybe strong reactions were dismissed. Maybe big feelings created conflict. Maybe staying quiet kept things stable. So they adapted. Instead of reacting outwardly, they started processing inwardly. When someone says something hurtful, they don't explode. They replay it later. When there's tension, they don't confront it immediately. They sit with it, analyze it, try to understand it. That's not emotional emptiness. It's emotional containment. You might notice this in small behaviors. They overthink a simple text message for hours. They hesitate before expressing disagreement. They sense when someone is slightly off, even if no one else notices. And when they're overwhelmed, they don't always show it. They withdraw quietly. They go silent. They say they're just tired. Because for them, calmness isn't the absence of emotion. It's controlled exposure. But here's where it gets interesting. Most people assume this calm personality comes from confidence, that they're unbothered, that they don't take things personally. The truth is often the opposite. They take things very personally, just privately. Their nervous system is sensitive. Their empathy runs deep. They read between lines without trying to. They absorb moods like background noise that never turns off. And over time, they learn that showing less meant feeling safer. It's not about confidence. It's about control. When you feel everything deeply, emotions can feel overwhelming, so you build an internal system to regulate it. You filter your reactions. You soften your expressions. You think before you speak, sometimes too much. This can turn into people-pleasing, not because you're weak, but because you're aware. You see how your words might land. You imagine the ripple effect. You calculate the emotional outcome. So you choose peace over expression. But inside, there's often a backlog. Unspoken boundaries, unexpressed disappointments, conversations you replay at night, thinking of what you could have said differently.
People who feel deeply but appear calm often become the stable one in relationships, the reliable one, the emotionally intelligent one. And that identity becomes a role: the strong friend, the mature partner, the understanding sibling. But being the stable one doesn't mean you don't struggle. It just means you struggle quietly. And over time, you may even disconnect from how intense your feelings actually are. You minimize them. You rationalize them. You tell yourself it's not a big deal, even when it is. Another layer to this is hyper-awareness. When you grew up in environments where you had to read the room carefully, where tension could rise suddenly, your brain learns to scan constantly. You become highly attuned. You notice micro-expressions, subtle rejection, slight emotional withdrawal. This makes you deeply perceptive, but it also makes you easily overstimulated. Crowded spaces feel heavy. Conflict feels exhausting. Emotional chaos feels like too much input at once. So you stay composed. You keep your tone steady. You try not to add more intensity to an already intense world. And because you handle things so quietly, people assume you're unaffected. But that's the paradox. The calmest person in the room might be feeling the most. They just don't externalize it. There's also a deeper identity pattern here. When someone consistently hides the depth of their emotions, they can start to feel unseen, misunderstood, even invisible, because others only respond to what's visible. If you don't show the hurt, no one knows it's there. If you don't express the overwhelm, no one recognizes the weight you're carrying. And yet, showing it feels uncomfortable. Exposing that depth feels vulnerable in a way that clashes with the calm identity you've built. So you stay steady. You stay composed. You stay the strong one. But inside, your emotional world is rich, layered, and intense. And that intensity isn't weakness. It's sensitivity. It's depth. It's a nervous system that processes life thoroughly rather than superficially. People like this often love deeply too. They care in quiet ways. They remember small details. They hold on to moments that others forget. But they also feel disappointment deeply, rejection deeply, disconnection deeply. They just carry it with grace. When you understand this pattern, something shifts. Calmness isn't always indifference. Silence isn't always peace. And emotional restraint isn't emotional absence. Sometimes it's self-protection. Sometimes it's conditioning. Sometimes it's the result of years of learning that feeling less visible feels safer than feeling exposed. If you recognize yourself in this, it was never random. It was a pattern, a way of surviving emotionally intense environments by becoming steady on the outside. And once you see that pattern clearly, you begin to understand your calmness differently. It's not that you don't feel much. It's that you feel everything, just quietly. If this explains something you've always sensed but never put into words, there's more to uncover. Understanding yourself is rarely loud. It's usually quiet, just like you.